The game opens up in everyone's favorite city of collusion, Kamurocho. Director of the Genda Law Office, Genda, is getting calls about his young hotshot lawyer, Takayuki Yagami, who also serves as your character in the Judgment games. Saori and Shintani are also lawyers at his office. Shintani is Yagami's senpai or mentor, but he's arrogant as fuck, won't shut up, and is clearly jealous of Yagami's success. Yagami's super popular because he got an acquittal on a murder charge, something that's apparently unheard of, but almost immediately, oh shit. Okubo, Yagami's client that was acquitted, was arrested again for another murder. They say he stabbed his girlfriend Emmy and set their apartment on fire. Dude just got a get out of free jail card, a get out of death row card, and now he's back on death row? This whole sequence happened 3 years ago, and Yagami is no longer a lawyer because of his cases with Okubo, something that still haunts him to this day. Now Yagami is a private investigator and works with ex-Yakuza, Kaito, doing whatever work will come their way. Because the city is a cesspool of collusion, there has been a string of murders. 3 Kansai Yakuza from the Kyorei clan, and each one had their eyes gouged out. Many are blaming it on their turf war with the Tojo, the most influential clan in Kamurocho. Yagami heads to his old law office looking for a job but runs into Hamura, a captain of the Matsugane family. Yagami has history with the family since their patriarch took him in and basically raised him until he got his license to practice law. We also learned that Kaito was in the Matsugane family but got kicked out. We don't know why yet, but this explains why he's working with Yagami. At the Genda Law Office, we meet Hoshino, a young promising lawyer that recently joined Genda's team. Shintani calls the office and has a job for Yagami. He needs to collect evidence for another murder case. Yagami meets Shintani and learns that Hamura is being accused of murder. Accusing people of murder is kind of this game's thing. Hamura is being accused of killing the latest Kansai Yakuza that had his eyes gouged out. They speak with Hamura, who's adamant he did not do it. Yagami proceeds through the entire investigation and trial. That's actually fairly interesting, but for the sake of not letting this video get any longer than it probably already is, I'll just touch on what is needed. During the investigation, Yagami meets the prosecution team he used to go against when he was a defense lawyer himself. Mafuyu, she wants his ass, if you know what I'm saying. Izumida, he wants revenge on his ass since Yagami beat him during the Okubo cases 3 years ago, and Morita, chief prosecutor, who I'm pretty sure doesn't want anyone's ass. Yagami also visits his old father figure, Matsugane, patriarch of the Tojo's Matsugane family. This is the family where Hamura is also captain. The whole thing goes to trial and there's a minor conspiracy, but nothing too concerning to the main plot. Again, long story short, Hamura gets acquitted. During the investigation, Yagami learns that Hamura is an accomplice to the murder and is not letting that shit go. He starts calling the true murderer the mole and is now on a mission to figure out what is really going on. The next day, Yagami gets a phone stolen by a parkour version of the V for Vendetta guy. It must be a nice phone because Yagami chases this guy down until he trips jumping across rooftops. Dude saves Yagami's life, gives him his phone back, and runs away. The hell is this guy? Kaito hears of a dirty cop named Ayabe that sells information. He might be able to give them a lead on the mole. This stuff is highly illegal, so they meet Ayabe, who looks more like a crackhead than a cop in an underground gambling den. Yagami takes the case files from Ayabe and learns the mole's second victim frequented a specific girl at a local brothel. Yagami heads there looking for the girl but only finds Hamura, who beats his ass for continuing the investigation. Hamura is clearly on some sus shit if he's doing all of this. Yagami decides to visit Matsugane and snitch on Hamura for whooping his ass, but Matsugane is just another bitch patriarch who says he can't do anything because Hamura is bringing in all the money for the family and is essentially the number one guy. Matsugane at this point is just a lame-ass figurehead. During this meeting, one of Hamura's lackeys says Yagami needs to meet Hamura. Dude just jumped our mans. Why the fuck would we go meet him right after that? But he does it anyway. Oh no, it was a trap. Who saw that coming? Yagami has to fight his way out of Hamura's crew only to get a gun pointed at him. But right before the trigger gets pulled, our new best friend V crashes the party and we dip. V says a bunch of nonsensical shit. Yagami offers him a job and then he just walks away and starts littering because he thinks he's cool. With Yagami still on the run from Hamura, he does the opposite of smart and heads back to his office. He finds Kaito, a bunch of beat up Matsugane thugs, and Higashi. Kaito used to be Higashi's Anaki before getting kicked out of the Yakuza. Because Kaito whooped their asses, they dip. But Kaito sends Yagami to tail Higashi because he's worried about his old mentee. Yagami tails him to an arcade the family owns and confronts Higashi. Basically, Higashi puts up this front about being a hard ass like Hamura, but deep down, he's still a pretty good dude. We also learn the story about Kaito's expulsion. Very long story short, some guy robs the safe, Kaito gets expelled because he was on the watch, Yagami saves his finger and gives him a job. The whole thing was set up by Hamura to get Kaito kicked out of the family because he was the only thing standing between Hamura and full control of the Matsugane family. Moral of the story is, one you probably know by now, Hamada's a complete asshole. Like any good RGG game, Yagami and Kaito beat the shit out of Higashi along with any hate he has for them, and now they're friends. Yay. Later that night, there's a shooting right outside the Matsugane family office. Dude got killed by a Kyorei assassin because he was wearing the same tracksuit as Hamada. That's messed up. Because there's a war between the Matsugane and the Kyorei brewing and everyone wants Hamada's head, he goes into hiding. Higashi tells Yagami that the captain of the Kyorei, Shioya, is in town and wants Hamada dead and likely wants Shintani dead too, since he was the defense lawyer for that case. Yagami rushes to warn Shintani. Shintani thinks he's cool to wear sunglasses indoors, fucking poser, but also completes his asshole persona because that's what he is when Yagami tries to warn him. An asshole. Shintani's adamant the mole and Yakuza dispute aren't linked. Yagami knows Shintani is being sus and asks him what he knows. And then, like an asshole, Shintani just walks out. Yagami and Kaito need info on the recent shooting, so they meet up with Dirty Cop Ayabe. They learn that Kyorei are being backed by the Kajihira Group, a construction company that is trying to expand into Tokyo. And with that comes a fuck ton of collusion that only an organized crime syndicate can manage. As they're leaving the bar, Yagami is stopped by Kuroya, Ayabe's boss and head detective of Tokyo PD's crime division. He's tight because Yagami helped Hamada get acquitted. Kajihira's connection with the Kyorei didn't sit well with Yagami, so he decided to hit up a known Kyorei hideout, or maybe just be creepy and spy on them like a high-tech peeping Tom. That's cut short when Shioya and his people roll up with guns. Seriously, they just have guys posted up on random rooftops around their building. How long have they been chilling up there? So again, Yagami is about to catch a bullet when V rolls up and saves his ass again. They're on rooftops of Kamurocho, and this guy just conveniently finds a way to save Yagami's life over and over. He was probably like, oh, it's no biggie. I was just in the neighborhood doing my nightly parkour and noticed that you were in distress. Really, dude? Really? Anyway, the three of them beat up the Yakuza captain and his crew. Shioya goes all evil villain like you aren't getting off that easy. V earns my respect with some gangsta shit when he kneels down without saying a word. Then Shioya catches a mean back heel with his face. I'm not gonna lie, the mask made that look way cooler. Speaking of the mask, it finally comes off. V for Vendetta guy finally has a face, and back at Higashi's, we learn his name, Sugiura. Naturally, all of us are thinking, why the hell did you keep showing up? Sugiura says he used to work for the Kajihira's IT department. He stumbled on a massive embezzlement scheme, got framed for it, and then fired. Sugiura wants revenge, and teaming up with Yagami would help him get it since the Kyorei are involved with the mole scandal. Back at Yagami's office, he gets a call from Saori, who's worried about Shintani. Yagami says he'll give him a call, but hold up. Why is a phone ringing in Yagami's office? Holy shit. Shintani's dead body just fell out of Yagami's closet, and his eyes are gouged out? What the fuck? Shintani was murdered by the mole? Why? What is going on? Kuroya and the cops show up, but just before they do, Yagami is able to pull a number from Shintani's phone. Yagami shares the news at Genda's, and Hoshino now wants in on the investigation. He researches the number Yagami found and pulls up the Advanced Drug Development Center, or the ADDC. This is getting even crazier because Okubo was the laundry guy at the center, the same spot he was accused of his first murder, the one that Yagami got him acquitted for. There is no way this is all connected, but let's be real. It's an RGG game. You know it is somehow. So without Higashi's permission, the gang make his arcade the group HQ and start looking into Shintani's murder. The ADDC recently developed a revolutionary drug called AD9 that is said to cure dementia. It is a disease that will inflict 1 in every 9 people by 2025. Because this is such a big deal, the Ministry of Health is throwing a ton of money at the ADDC to speed up the development process. But why did Shintani call them? Yagami and Hoshino head there to find out. At the center, Yagami sees Kido, and we get another long-ass flashback to when Yagami was a lawyer investigating the Okubo case. Don't worry, I'm going to shorten this one too. ADDC dementia patient Waku was found dead in the mountains. Prosecution says Okubo snuffed the old man out after he tried to hit Okubo the prior day, snuck him out of a laundry cart and put him in his truck and then buried the body. Okubo confesses to burying the body but swears he didn't kill him. Okubo says he found the body in his truck after doing his laundry run, panicked because he has a prior assault charge on his record, and then hid the body. Real talk though, are there no cameras or security in any of these Japanese research facilities or hospitals? Everyone has a smartphone, but we can't put a single security camera where the dementia patients are. During the investigation, Yagami is approached by Emi, a nurse at the center. She says Dr. Shono, Kito's right-hand man, is extra sus, and his story is full of holes. Yagami takes advantage of this in court and wins, despite Emi breaking down and admitting that she is Okubo's girlfriend. However, not a month later, Okubo is taken out of his burning apartment accused of murdering Emi, that scene from the beginning of the video, and is currently on death row. Finally, back to reality. Kaito informs Yagami that Shintani was contacting Shono. The reason is unknown, and Shono claims he has no idea who Shintani is. Suspicious indeed. Because the cops are always messing stuff up, Kuroda barges in looking for Yagami. He wants him to be a material witness for Shintani's murder. Yagami's all like, fuck you. Kuroda is all like, come quietly now before I get a warrant on your ass. Yagami's like, bitch, you won't. Kito's all like, fuck out my office. And Kuroda's all like, you'll regret this. While Yagami's look at him like, that's what I thought, bitch. After all that, Kaito still won't let Yagami talk to Shono, but it's all good because all Yagami has to do is ask the receptionist if he can talk to Shono. She gets a research assistant with a super secure keycard and just strolls right on through. Seriously, no security in these buildings, even though the guards are standing right there. Yagami approaches Shono, gets cut off by Vice Minister of Health Ichinose. He's all over 89 research since the ministry is throwing so much money at it. Yagami has to leave empty-handed, but later gets some interesting information from Sugiura. Kajihira had plans to redevelop all of the land the ADDC was on and tear down the facility since it produced zero results for almost 10 years. It was an easy bribe for the Minister of Health until all of a sudden 89 was announced. Kajihira's pissed because he's already invested 100 billion with a B into this project, and the last piece he needs, he can't get because the Minister of Health is fully supporting this quote-unquote miracle drug. Later that day, the Kyorei clan tried to abduct Mafuyu. Yagami doesn't appreciate thugs trying to kidnap his girlfriend that's not actually his girlfriend, so he does the most Kiru thing ever. He busts down the front door and ruins everyone's day until he gets the boss at the top. Shibuya tried to kidnap Mafuyu because he needs to coerce Yagami into doing a job for him. They would have taken the job if he just asked nicely, but now since they tried Mafuyu, he just gets his ass beat. See what asking can do for you? Then Professor X gets wheeled out. Spoiler, that's not really Professor X, that's Kajihira. Kajihira says the Kyorei will leave Yagami alone if he can investigate the death of ex-Vice Minister of Health. Hashiki was Kajihira's inside man who was recently beaten to death. Kajihira thinks the murder was premeditated and also thinks 89 is sus since it popped up out of nowhere just before he was going to produce the ADDC land. During the investigation, Yagami discovers that Hashiki was murdered by a professional assassin in a black raincoat. Someone was trying to protect 89. Basically, they believe that Hashiki and Shintani were murdered because they were getting too close to the truth. The next day, Yagami has to meet at the prosecutor's office. Izumida and Morita say they caught Shintani's murderer, Ayabe. Hold up. Ayabe was the one that killed Shintani? The bullet that killed Shintani was from Ayabe's gun. Is he really the mole? A copycat killer? Depending on who you believe, neither, because Yagami then gets a call from Ayabe saying he's being framed. I mean, honestly, the guy looks like someone who licks electrical outlets, but I don't think he's a killer. Yagami and Hoshino go talk to Ayabe, who says he was assaulted, knocked out, and woke up on a random park bench an hour later. He never reported this because he didn't want anyone looking into his dirty little side business. His assailant stole his gun, killed Shintani, and put it back in Ayabe's holster before he woke up. Yagami suspects this has something to do with the mole, meaning his only lead is the mole's contact, Hamada. But Hamada is in hiding. How the hell are they going to find him? Yagami meets his old father figure again, Matsugane, for some answers, but he doesn't get any answers. All Yagami gets is fucking betrayed. Matsugane sticks like 15 dudes on Yagami and Kaito and says they need to leave Hamada alone. Yagami's all like, fuck that. The mole's connected to the ADDC, connected to Okubo's case 3 years back, connected to everything. I'm finding this bitch. Matsugane even gives Higashi one of those big ass Japanese knives, but all Higashi really gets is a power bomb and a sliding roundhouse to the face. How the hell do these guys survive this shit? I've been saying this since the Yakuza games. I don't get it. Matsugane comes back and is just chilling, taking a drink like he didn't just try to annihilate his own guys. Finally, he tells Yagami the mole was hired by Hamada and they both are just puppets for an even bigger enemy. With no other leads, they decide to bug the Matsugane office to find out where Hamada is. Pop quiz. Where do you find Yakuza in hiding when they're not at a bar? That's right, an underground gambling den. Why does Kamurocho have so many of these? Yagami and Kaito roll up on Hamada, who's been wearing the same tracksuit since going into hiding. Dude must smell like ass right now. Hamada finally gets the ass kicking he deserves, and everyone learns that Kaito isn't the one running the 89 show. Shono's conniving ass is the one pulling the strings and is the lead researcher for 89. Kaito's just a front man because he's more respected in the scientific community. Then because this game never wants to give us a break, the place gets set on fire. Kaito gets flamethrowered, Hamada gets away, and somehow they don't die of smoke inhalation. Because they were not traumatized by almost dying in a burning building, Yagami immediately meets with the expert reporter about 89, who mentions human experimentation. Then he regroups with the homies and comes up with a very interesting theory. Yagami says 3 years ago, Shono used Waku as a test subject who died from the drug. To this day, he's continuing the experiments on the Kyorei Yakuza, using Hamada and the mole for the dirty work. And Kaito is using the connections and money to coordinate all of this. Oh shit. The mole is the guy in the black raincoat that bodied Hashiki and has been on the one killing off the Kyorei members. Dude, if this is true, the whole thing is one giant conspiracy on an ethical level that I don't even think the Yakuza games have even touched yet. Is it just to kill a handful to potentially save millions? Hold up. What does this mean for Okubo? If true, then he really didn't kill Waku. But did he really kill his girlfriend Emi then? The next move is to approach Shono with his guard down. Yagami and Sugiura head out to the hospital looking for a way in. Ichinose intercepts them and has 9 guards escort them out. That's a lot for a simple escort. Know why? Because it's not an escort. They're trying to jump our boy. Too bad rent-a-cops can't fight, and after whooping everyone's ass, Yagami steals their clothes Hitman style to sneak in undetected. Sugiura has a theory that Shono also killed Emi and pinned it on Okubo, so the cops would no longer search for Waku's killer. Oh shit, that is wild, but also makes sense. If this all stands, Shono's a real piece of shit. Yagami finally gets a chance to approach Shono, who runs away looking guilty as fuck. Not sure why, maybe because it's Japan, but all the medical interns Shono was with randomly know how to fight, and you have to beat up half the medical staff before you can finally question Shono. Shono doesn't say anything, but his reaction to everything Yagami says are dead giveaways. He killed Waku with 89 and hid the body in Okubo's truck. He killed Emi in cold blood and set up Okubo. He's the one using the mole to clean up his messes. This whole thing just blew up. His twisted justification is that since 89 could save millions, it needs to get finished as quickly as possible, no matter the cost. Kaito finally opens the room, and even though Yagami just beat the shit out of all of their interns and security guards and assaulted Shono, he just walks out with 0 consequences. Yagami starts to piece everything together, but doesn't have any evidence. He needs to capture Hamada and the mole, or Ayabe and Okubo don't have a chance in hell of getting out. Since getting his ass tossed by Yagami, Hamada's been wanting his head, so they decide to use themselves as bait. What they likely overlooked is that Hamada always has a gun. Oh no, the asshole Yakuza has a gun. Who would have expected that? Oh boy, not me. Hagashi gets carried and all fucked up because Hamada knows he's been helping Yagami, and Kaito takes a bullet when he tries to protect Matsugane. Let's be for real for 1 second. What always happens when Yagami has a gun pointed at him? Take a second. I'll wait. That's right. Sugiura is magically summoned by the gods and saves Yagami. Yagami owes this dude a lap dance or something because he should have been dead at least 3 times by now. Also, 5 shots were fired not 10 yards away when Yagami hesitates, so the Yakuza either shoot like stormtroopers or this man has magic bullet repellent. The bug they planted in the Matsugane office tells them where Kaito is, so naturally they have to Kido their way up there. For those of you not familiar with the Yakuza franchise, that means brutally kick everyone's ass so they slowly work their way to the goal. So Yagami does, including a magician assassin that has a magic cane that goes from a cane to a shotgun to dual batons to a sword. No cap, that's badass. I want one. He finally gets to Kaito, who looks all kinds of fucked up, and Hamada is just chilling. Like any good villain, Hamada gets stupid and arrogant and just lets his guard down. He catches Kaito's hard-ass head, then he gets annihilated by our boy Yagami, who does cool Jackie Chan stunts with a chair. They save Kaito, Higashi manages to get out alive, and Matsugane finally joins the crew. Yagami then puts the gun to Hamada. Aha! The tables have turned! He wants info on the mole, but Hamada is not talking. So what do we do with a punk bitch Yakuza that won't talk? We bring them to the rival gang's torture room, or dressing room in the back of the Kyorei hideout. That works too, I guess. Hamada finally talks. Strap in, because if you thought this wasn't insane enough, well, the mole used to be informant like Ayabe and has been working with Hamada for over 20 years. Since then, they've taken higher paying jobs like hiding bodies and starting with Hashiki, assassinations. Money from these is how Hamada has been able to keep the Matsugane family afloat this whole time. Hamada did the Hashiki job and was then tasked with getting test subjects for 89 and then disposing of the bodies. The bodies being the Kyorei clan members. What? Shono specifically wanted the Kyorei clan because no one would think twice about a dead Yakuza during a turf war, and the Kyorei were helping with Kajihiro take down the ADDC. What? These jobs all came from Ichinose? What the fuck? The Vice Minister of Health is in on this too? Well, of course he is, because he's the one that founded the entire institute that the ADDC is on and needs to protect his retirement plan and legacy. If 89 fails, Kajihira is tearing that bitch down. Shintani died because Hamada told him too much while in jail as a backup plan in case he got double-crossed. To cover his own ass after Hamada got out of jail, had to kill Shintani and hired the mole to do it, and together they framed Aibe. Say what? And we don't even get time to process any of this because it just gets crazier. Hamura's boys, yeah, they just set the building on fire. Someone turned the Kyorihome into a suicide bomber and boom! Ends up fucking everyone's shit up, especially his own. Again, not sure how no one's dying of smoke inhalation, but we don't have time to think about that because, oh shit, the mole's here. And with no hesitation, pulls a gun on Hamada and fires. Fucking hell, man. Matsugane sacrifices himself to save Hamada? Hamada's boys are still Matsugane, so they're all like, fuck you, and rush the mole. The mole John Wicks half the crew and tries again to kill Hamada, but the ceiling conveniently starts falling, so he dips after killing a couple more Matsugane for funsies. Because they're immortal, I mean, dudes have been fighting in and breathing straight smoke for God knows how long, and after all that, they don't even try to get out of the burning building. They stop to have a full conversation with a dying Matsugane about why he saved Hamada. You know, like family and shit. Funny enough, after the conversation, Yagami picks up Matsugane up and attempts to get him out of said building. Really, dude? Why didn't you just do that in the first place? However, as they leave, Hamada drops the biggest bomb we've heard all game. The mole is Kuroiwa. Wait! The asshole police detective? Nani? Holy fucking shit. The collusion is too much. This hypocrite motherfucker has been killing people and using his position to cover everything up. And he wants to sit here and talk shit about Aibe's info business while he frames Aibe for murder? He better get his. Sadly, we find out Matsugane didn't make it, probably from the smoke and not from the actual bullet. Yagami gets a tip that behind the lab coat, Kaito is just a womanizing perv, so they decide to pimp out Saori for a honey trap. She goes undercover as an innocent reporter who also has hidden cameras. The gang kidnaps Kaito, brings him to Higashi's, and strips his ass down. An ironically fitting and embarrassing punishment for a perv, if I do say so myself. Using their video, they blackmail Kaito into talking, and we get yet another side to this already complex as hell storyline. Right after Kaito announced 89 to the world, Shono told him about how he killed Waku with the test, and how human clinical trials would just result in more deaths. Kito's actually not a terrible dude, I mean, aside from like the perv shit, and he actually wanted to end it. But Shono's creepy ass lifeless eyes made him an offer he could not refuse, and now Kito's been roped into Shono's web of murder and conspiracy. Then Kaito confirms that Shono killed Emi so Okubo would take the fall. Shono and Kaito then tell Ichinose, who agreed to help in order to preserve the ADDC, has Hashiki silenced, and then arranges the deal with Hamada for the Kyorei test subjects. Through all this, Kaito was hesitant, but Shono kept pushing, and Kaito had to funnel money from Ichinose to Shono so he could build his secret lab. What the fuck? There's a secret lab now? But real talk for a second. Who's doing the accounting for the ADDC? How does one cook the books to hide an entire secret lab in the heart of Kamurocho? Don't worry about that one, John. Just put that in as an R&D expense. Like, what the fuck? Unfortunately, Kaito doesn't know where the lab is, so they trail one of the informants to a closed down love hotel. Real creepy place for human experimentation, and it gets even creepier when they find the operating room. Scene looks like it's straight out of BioShock. And there's the mad scientist himself. Sugiura starts getting video of everything and drops a bomb on all of us. He's been lying to everyone. Say what? He's not ex-Kajihira employee, and his name is not Sugiura. His real name is Fumiya Terasawa, Emi Terasawa's brother. By the way, we're just going to keep calling him Sugiura to lessen confusion. Mens doesn't even hesitate and pulls a knife ready to shank his sister's true killer when BAM! Gun goes off. The cops and the prosecutor's office are here. Yagami's smart as hell because he turns himself into the cops and says he's trespassing. This means the lab is a crime scene and they have to investigate it. Meanwhile, Kaito is still a hostage until Kuroiwa shows up. No black raincoat, no gun, just a foot-long baton that suspiciously looks like a leather dildo. This won't end well for someone. Flashback to the secret lab. Marito wears glasses for a reason, because this corrupt motherfucker is blind as shit. He's out here looking around at all the 89 suspect evidence and goes, well, guess there's nothing funny going on here. Let's all go home. What? He's in on it too? Back at the gang hideout, it looks like Kuroiwa completely jacked up the homies with his leather dildo. Kaito found his clothes and they just walk out. The homies regroup at Hashiki's place and everyone's all messed up, some more than others. Mafuyu then calls Yagami wanting to discuss the bullshit everyone just witnessed with Morita. Morita is pushing hard to help 89 because Alzheimer's basically ruined his entire family. Murder-suicide level ruin, so it runs deep. Mafuyu and Yagami decide to take this to Genda's, where they find Hoshino and Saori getting intimate. Don't get too excited, you filthy animals. They're just holding hands. After an awkward moment, everyone's trying to convince Yagami to be the lawyer again to defend Ayabe when the case comes to fruition. Mafuyu tells Yagami she had a meeting to speak with Izumida, and Yagami decides to go in her stead to keep her safe. He tells Izumida about Morita's history, and thank the holy whatever you believe in, because we finally found another person that is not corrupted by 89. Yagami and Izumida devise a plan to out Ichinose during the trial that should save Ayabe and Okubo and incriminate 89 all at the same time. 1 month later, our guy is looking smooth as silk in that suit because he's going back to the courtroom for Ayabe's trial. Once Ichinose is on the stand, Yagami pulls up and lets him have it. Calls him out about Kaji Hira almost tearing down the ADDC. Calls him out for 89 sus development. Calls dude out for orchestrating the mole's murders. Straight annihilating this dude like the 1992 classic A Few Good Men. Real good movie, by the way. Check it out if you have not already. Ichinose is all like, you can't handle the truth, and keeps denying the accusations, but Yagami got a very interesting piece of evidence from Hamada? We haven't seen him since Matsugane's murder. It's a phone call connecting Ichinose to Hamada. Ichinose is basically ordering Shintani's murder. Ichinose says, fuck you, audio can be forged. Yagami says, say less, and signals Mafuyu to let Hamada in the room. You screwed now, guy. Hamada corroborates the audio and everyone's all like, say what? Ichinose is tight and is trying to figure out where Morita is, but he's been relieved of his duties due to misconduct. It means his ass got fired for being corrupt. What? That's not enough? Bet. Kito's coming in to testify next. With no options left, Ichinose signals his lapdog. Yagami knows it's about to go down, so he leaves Hoshino in charge. Mind you, this is the biggest scandal potentially ever and is connected to 2 murder cases from the Okubo trials 3 years back. Yagami just gave this whole case to a guy who has not led a single case in his career. Good luck, little homie. Kaito tells Yagami the order was to kill the mole. Don't tell me we're actually going to save Kuroiwa's ass. But we need to, because we need him for the case, so I guess the ends justify the means. Somehow Yagami finds time to completely change out of a tailored suit and learns Kuroiwa is on his way to the ADDC. He's coming for Shono's ass. You know this is the end because for the first time the entire game, the weather finally changes. Naturally, these idiot cops don't know which way is up, so they try to stop the squad, who proceed to beat everyone's ass. They jacked up the hospital interns. What makes you think they won't mess up cops too? Yagami and Sugiura head to Kuroiwa, who ends up blowing the entire bridge. Yagami jumps from the 2nd story, gets hit by a speeding car, and is all like, yup, I'm good. Don't worry about me, really, I'm good. But he's not really that good because now he's seeing ghosts as he works his way through the hospital. Finally, they find Shono and Kuroiwa, who somehow found an opportunity to put the black raincoat on. Don't even know how he got that in the building, considering you can't hide that big ass coat under a suit. But here we are. Now shit's about to get real. Cops roll up. Kuroiwa caps their asses. Shono catches a bullet trying to run away. Sugiura catches a bullet. They play hide and seek. No more bullets. Wait, hold up. What kind of assassin doesn't have a second clip? What kind of cop doesn't have a second clip? I'll say it again. Really? They fight. Yagami almost gets thrown out of a window. Kuroiwa is the one that actually ends up out the window. Dude takes his insulin shot because he's allergic to bees or something. I don't know. But this gives him the annoying second health bar that the final boss always gets. But it doesn't matter because Yagami Bruce Lee's the hell out of this man's face. All of a sudden, the squad and cops pull up. Guess they made friends after beating the hell out of each other. Kuroiwa is on the ropes and makes a last-ditch effort to shank Shono. Meanwhile, Kaito picks up a big-ass chair like he's the Hulk and effortlessly yeets it straight into Kuroiwa's back. Somehow, Kuroiwa is immune to spinal damage because he just gets back up. He's not immune to bullets, though, and these cops straight firing squad his ass until he is Swiss cheese. With Kuroiwa's dying breath, he tells Shono it's over, but Shono is not convinced. He says he's finished 89 and injects himself to prove it. Psych! Shono, you played yourself and you killed yourself the same way your experiments died. You know what that is? That's poetic justice. A couple weeks later, Okubo is getting released from prison. Shono and Kuroiwa are dead. Ichinose and Morita are in jail, and Kajihira is getting investigated for collusion. All's well that ends well, I guess. Mafuyu and Kaito are trying to convince Yagami to be a lawyer again, but nah, he's good. He doesn't like suits and rather find lost cats. 3 years after Judgment, we are immediately taken to Ijincho, Yokohama. If this looks familiar, it's because this is the same Yokohama that was in Yakuza Like a Dragon. RGG loves to reuse assets. Fire department gets a call to an abandoned building that's smoking. Turns out the smoke is from an arrow of flares pointed toward a decomposed body? That's nasty. Those firefighters are taking that smell way too casually. 2 minutes in this damn game and I already have a million questions. Back in Kamurocho, we meet up with everyone's favorite investigative duo, Yagami, our character, and his lovable thug sidekick, Kaito. They're working on a case that doesn't really matter, so we're just gonna move on. Saori and Hoshino are defending an accused sexual harasser. Dude was caught trying to run away after filling a girl up on a train. All the evidence is stacked against him, yet he continues to deny he did it and push for a trial. Weird detail, I know, but it plays a big role. Trust me. Yagami gets a call from our favorite V for Vendetta cosplay, Sugiura. He and Tsukumo, the hacker from the last game, have formed their own detective agency in Yokohama. What a coincidence, and need Yagami's help with the case. Back in the courtroom, the defendant for the sexual harassment case, Ihara, is found guilty and is given 6 months jail time. Judge asks Ihara to sit, but he just stands there like he's in a full-on trance. Finally, he begins to speak and talks about the scene we first saw in Yokohama. A scene the police haven't shared with the public because they're still trying to ID the body. Don't worry, Ihara got you though. The corpse belongs to Hiro Mikoshiba. Ihara says Mikoshiba drove his son to commit suicide 4 years ago and is pissed off because the law let him walk. How the fuck does he know all of this? Did he kill him? But he's been locked up for the past couple of months. What the hell is going on? As soon as we have a million questions and no answers, we're back with Yagami. He and Kaito are in Yokohama and they're on their way to meet up with Sugiura. On their way, they run into a handful of bratty-ass entitled high schoolers bullying the shit out of a shop owner. These little fucks think they can't be touched because they're minors and are filming everything. So what does Yagami and Kaito do? Nothing more than commit a crime. Abuse of a minor specifically, no big deal. But I say it's justified because fuck those assholes. Finally, they meet up with Tsukumo, who has a nicer setup than any streamer I know, and Sugiura, who apparently kept his fake name. They need Yagami's help with a case where the chairman of a private school wants the school investigated for any instances of bullying. I know, crazy. But stay with me, you'll see. They meet with Okuda, the school chairman, and learn the asshole bullies they beat up that very day attending the school they're about to go investigate. I'm sure you know where this is going. They also learned 4 years ago a student at this school committed suicide because he was being bullied. The parents sued the school, but the investigation didn't turn up any conclusive evidence. One of the student teachers also mysteriously disappeared 2 months ago. I'm sure none of this is related to anything we've already discussed, right? Right? The next day, the group goes to the high school undercover to plant cameras because spying on high schoolers isn't creepy. By the way, it's 2021. How does this school not already have cameras? Tsukumo has RGBs on his laptop. By the way, nice touch, RGG. And this private school doesn't have cameras? Also, not sure how no one thought Yagami standing at Kaito wouldn't be suspicious. I've never seen a maintenance crew not have a ladder. They must do it differently in Japan. They also think it's a good idea to plant a camera in the homeroom of the bullies they beat up, but get stopped by a teacher named Sawa, who rightfully thinks they're sus. Like any good undercover detective, Kaito hits on her. Later, that very camera catches the same group of asshole kids bullying a girl, so they report it to the chairman. Then an unrelated series of events causes Yagami to beat them and the rugby team up. Just out here committing child abuse at a school with no consequences. The next day, after stopping another bullying incident, Yagami gets a call from Saori. We learn the student teacher who went missing from the school 2 months ago is none other than Hiro Mikoshiba, the same person who is now a decomposed corpse, the same person who Ihara called out in court. What the fuck? Saori rightfully thinks this is all sus because Mikoshiba was killed the day Ihara got caught for sexual harassment, but Ihara apparently has an alibi because he was at the station all morning. Ihara's son was a student at this high school who was allegedly bullied by Mikoshiba and committed suicide. Ihara sued the school and nothing came of the investigation. Saori wants Yagami to dig up dirt on Mikoshiba. Yagami learns that Mikoshiba was Sawa-sensei's mentee and was active in the basketball club. This club is also attended by the bullies Yagami already beat up. Twice. Yagami starts asking questions. Bullies roll out bats, not sure why they need those in a basketball gym. Oh, they came to teach Yagami a lesson. Guess they forgot students at school learn and not teach, and they get their asses kicked again. Seriously, take a hint. We've really spent this whole game so far just beating the shit out of minors. Some minor stuff happens and we're going to skip for the sake of time, and Yagami kicks the bullies' asses again. Okay, I'm done. Really? Again? Who wrote this story? Is there anyone else we can fight? Apparently, 4 times the charm because after getting beat up by the same guy over and over, they finally decide to spill info that Sawa was keeping from Yagami. Yagami goes to speak with her and the chairman, but a detective from the Kanagawa police strolls up into the chairman's office. They have questions about Mikoshiba's disappearance. Yagami confronts Sawa again to straighten out her story, but she continues to resist. After more pressing, she offers to meet him that night for a chat. On his way to said chat, Yagami gets jumped by a masked gang, has legs of steel the way he's kicking around tables, and has to Jackie Chan his way out of this fight. Meanwhile, Sawa is completely oblivious to the entire situation going on right outside the window when she is approached by a mysterious woman. Some random dude in a fake leather jacket steps out and offers Yagami some help. All he does is says he's a better fighter than Yagami, and the 5 guys with weapons just run away. Yagami finally catches up with Sawa, who immediately seems frantic and says she can't help him. The mysterious woman tells Sawa that she and Yagami need to stay away from the case, which is what Sawa intends to do as she leaves. Again, Sawa proving zero help. Weird leather jacket guy is Kawana, a handyman in Ijincho. He's the type of handyman, though, that doesn't mind getting his hands dirty for the right price, if you know what I'm saying. They introduce each other the same way you'd expect in any RPG game. They fight, until Kaito and Sugiura break it up. Turns out Kawana is a senpai to Sugiura, and now everyone's buddies. Funny how it always works out like that. Kawana also informs them that the gang was likely hired Yokohama Liu-Mang, the Chinese gang from Yakuza Like a Dragon. Yagami decides to check out the crime scene where they found Mikoshiba's body and runs into the detective that he saw at the high school, Watanabe. Tokyo and Kanagawa PD are too busy dick measuring to get anything done, so Watanabe, just desperate for answers, decides to collaborate with Yagami. Watanabe says Mikoshiba was likely abducted by a group not far from his home around that same time that Ihara was at the train station. During the conversation, they spot 3 guys spying on them. Looks sus as hell, so Yagami decides to jump out of a 3rd-story window and chase them down. Guess there's no fall damage in this game. The guy claims they were just curious about the crime scene. I think he's full of shit, but they let him go anyway because he didn't technically commit a crime. The next day, Yagami meets up with Hoshino to check out the scene of Ihara's harassment. Ihara basically stood on the platform all morning, got on the train behind a woman named Mamiya, touched her butt, ran away, then got caught. While there, they diagrammed the platform and security cameras only to find a single blind spot. Interesting. Later that day, Yagami goes to grill Sawa again, guilting her into spilling whatever she's hiding. She finally cracks, and we learn 4 years ago Toshiro, Ihara's son, confided in Sawa and told her all about the tragic bullying Mikoshiba was doing to him. After Toshiro committed suicide, the quote-unquote investigation committee was an inside job and all evidence of the bullying was discarded. Even during Toshiro's case, the teacher and the school's attorney coerced Sawa into false testimony. The whole thing is completely fucked up. That night, the Yokohama Liu-Mang throw a big-ass rock through the homie's window, so this time Yagami jumps out the 2nd-story window and chases the guy down, all the way to the gang hideout. There he finds Tesso, who's doing his best Wolverine impression. Only difference is, he can't fight, and Yagami beats his ass and escapes. When they get back, Sugiura's all kinds of fucked up, and poor Tsukumo's pinky is hurt. It's a final warning from a group of masked men different from the Yokohama Liu-Mang. Yagami needs to head back to Kamurocho. He's going to have a chat with Ihara. On his way, he and Kaito run into a gang looking for a missing person that disappeared 5 years ago. They're called RK, and they're headed by some dude named Soma. Akutsu, this guy who looks like he got a shirt from a Cougar discount store, is second in command. They are both ex-Tojo and are trying to build their own gang after the Tojo dissolution left an opening. Yagami and Saori meet up with Ihara, who doesn't tell them anything useful. Coincidentally, or not, when Yagami gets to his office, footage of Mikoshiba's murder is released on the internet. Dude was tortured, had his throat slit, and it was Ihara who killed him? How the fuck? Wasn't he at the train station? This video is either fake or Ihara being convicted of harassment is a cover-up for murder. But who released it? Why? The crazy thing too is Ihara was already convicted, meaning you can't just turn around and say, Your Honor, I know we already proved he committed harassment, but that time actually didn't happen. He actually committed a murder that happened at the exact same time instead. And like the last Judgment game, the prosecution is completely up their own ass because they're saying the video is a fake and unreliable evidence. Basically, they're sticking with the original verdict because they don't want to look foolish. This also ties the police's hands because now Ihara can't even be a suspect. How could a man convicted of a different crime at the exact same time commit murder? This might be the craziest conspiracy we have explained yet, and we are just getting started. That day, Yagami and Kaito get jumped by a bunch of RK goons and decide to pay a visit to Akutsu. What the fuck, man? Why you want this smoke? Akutsu is actually trying to recruit Kaito, weird way to do it, but Kaito in so many words tells him to fuck off, and then they beat the shit out of all of his goons because they want that smoke. Then the leader himself, Soma, shows up. Dude wears a nice suit, but he's got a weird fetish with that cloth. He claims it's a dust allergy. I think he's full of shit. I also think it's a really weird character trait to include. Like, why RGG? Why is it important to give him a dust allergy? And why does this allergy medicine not exist in Japan? We know he has money. Get this man a Claritin. Regardless, he seems more reasonable and lets Yagami and Kaito leave. Yagami and Saori decide to look into the alibi by setting up a meeting with the victim, Mamiya, but she doesn't give them much. However, they regroup and come up with a very interesting theory. They can't assume the video is fake, that gives them nothing to go on. But what if? What if the alibi is fake? What if Ihara had a stand-in and they switched in the camera's blind spot? What if Mamiya was in on it the whole time? That would mean they planned the groping so Ihara could get away with murder and make the judicial system look foolish, which is appropriate retribution for how pissed off Ihara is about Toshiro's failed trial. Holy shit. If this is true, this is the conspiracy to end all conspiracies. But wait, assuming this is true, why would Mamiya agree to this plan? They research Mamiya, who went to the same school as the dude scoping out the murder scene. Holy shit. That can't be a coincidence. The same high school that Sawa attended. What? Is all of this really connected? Hoshino also finds an incident that happened while Sawa was a student. A classmate of hers, Mitsuro Kusumoto, was bullied by another student, Kawai, at the point where he threw himself off the roof. He's still in a coma after 13 years. The interesting part is he's the son of now Vice Minister of Health, Reiko Kusumoto. Great. The Ministry of Health is involved. Again, Saori starts working on an appeal for Ihara. If she can prove Ihara's innocence for harassment, then they can get his ass for murder. Yagami heads back to Ijincho to question Sawa again, but hold up. The hell is RK doing here? Hoshino did some more digging and found a picture of Kawai, the guy that bullied Mitsuru. That's the guy RK is looking for! That night, Yagami goes to Sawa's apartment to ask more questions, but he ends up finding Kawana and RK. Kawana says RK is after him, and Yagami helps him kick all the ass to help Kawana get away. Akutsu pulls out his phone and we see Soma with an ice pick to Sawa's neck, which is just enough distraction for Yagami to catch a metal bat to the back of the head. Seriously, at this point, it should be game over. Blunt force trauma, easy, but naturally the hero in cutscenes is immune to death. Yagami's guardian angel finds a way to wake him up after that hit, but unfortunately the first thing he sees is Soma and his cloth fetish. Also unfortunate, he's tied up in some warehouse and Soma happens to be a human lie detector. They start asking Yagami about Kawana, but that's just an alias. His real name is Kitakata. Because Yagami doesn't have the info they want, RK just starts beating the shit out of him. I mean, like on the brink of death beatdown. But don't forget, heroes don't die in cutscenes. And right when Yagami is about to catch a chainsaw, Scarface style, Kaito and Sugiura roll up. Even after Yagami was just beaten half to death, the three of them managed to smack down 18 arcade members, don't worry, I counted, with weapons, including chainsaw-wielding Akutsu. Yup, easy claps. Akutsu manages to get away. Yagami still has zero answers, and when he gets back to Sawa's apartment to ask about Kawana, it is completely trashed. No fucking way. Sawa's been murdered? That fuck Soma killed her for what? Weren't they just after Kawana? Before the cops show up, they swipe Sawa's high school yearbook in hopes it'll provide some kind of clue. The next day, Yagami's trying to find Kawana. They find his address and trespass like any good detective would. RK got there first and tore the place up. Luckily, RK is just a bunch of thugs though, because they missed the flash drive that is doubled as a lighter. There has to be some useful information on it, so after trespassing, they decide to commit burglary and take the lighter with them. A neighbor tells them about Kawana's uncle who owns a bar, so they check it out. Kaito gets stabbed twice. Yagami is about to get stabbed, but Sawa decides it's a good idea to answer the bar's phone when it randomly rings. Bad guys are always terrible with priorities. It's the uncle. He wants to talk to Yagami, so Soma hands him the phone and leaves. Seriously? Kaito gets rushed to the hospital, and Yagami speaks with the uncle about stuff not important enough for this video. On his way back to the office, Tesso decides to jump Yagami because he thinks he brought RK to Ijincho. The only thing Yagami brought were these hands, and after Tesso catches them, he understands the error of his ways. Tesso offers to make Yagami a brother, so now he's cool with Yokohama Leomon. Finally, Yagami gets back to Tsukumo, and there's only one data file on that flash drive. It's a very unsettling video of a group of kids blowing the fuck out of Mitsuru 13 years ago. From the video, they ID a number of the students, including Kawai, the dudes who were at the crime scene, and Mamiya. They're all connected. They also learn that this video was taken literally hours before Mitsuru threw himself off the roof. But why does Kawana have this? After investigating Sawa's yearbook, they learned Mitsuru's homeroom teacher was Yu Kitakata. No fucking way. Kawana was a teacher? The same teacher connected to Mitsuru, Sawa, Mamiya, Kawai, and the rest of those asshole bullies? This is fucking huge. It's all starting to come together. Kawana had to quit teaching after the Mitsuru incident and went underground to get his revenge on those bullies. That explains why he has the secret video. If that gets out, then the lives of everyone in it are over. Kawana used it as leverage to get the other bullies to cooperate and abduct Kawai. This could explain why RK is after Kawana. Are they still looking for Kawai? Wait, does that mean Kawana is in on the Yahara incident since Mami is involved? Only way to find out is to ask Mamiya, so Yagami and Sugiura head that way. Yagami presses Mamiya hard. You know this bitch is guilty as fuck because she's about to crack. Instead, she texts someone and those dudes that messed up Tsukumo's pinky barge in. Little do they know that they're messing with Yagami and they get their asses all torn up. Yagami unmasks the assailants. Oh damn, it's the guy from the crime scene. Mami has some explaining to do. Where should we go if we have someone that needs interrogating? They pay their old friend Higashi a visit. If you haven't guessed, this is the part where the whole story blows up. Get ready. Mami explains Kawana secretly taped the bullying and held onto it until it would have the most impact once their lives were established and they really had something to lose. 5 years ago, Kawana used the video to blackmail his former students into abducting Kawai, which, by the way, he also taped that. Mamiya then got a picture of Kawai. Dead. Kawana killed Kawai? Holy shit. But it's even crazier. Because of the video he taped and the fact that he still has the body with all the former students' fingerprints on it, Kawana can pin Kawai's murder on the students if they don't do what he says. All of this extortion has forced Kawana's former students to be accessories to the murders of at least 7 other bullies that have caused their victims to commit suicides. Poetic justice or sadistic killer. Either way, that's ice cold. But what about Ihara's case? Mamiya, the ones filming, the ones who caught Ihara, all in on it. Fuck me, man. This is insane. And Sawa is connected to this because Kawana tricked her into spilling the collusion regarding Toshiro's trial, enticing Kawana to talk to Ihara and make Mikoshiba his next target. Remember when Yagami got called by Sugiura to assist with a simple bullying case? Yeah, me too. Yagami then gets a call from Kawana. He's agreed to meet with Yagami. Kawana explains his side of the Mitsuru incident and how he tried to scare Sawa and Yagami away with the Mikoshiba case. He was the one that put the Liomang on Yagami, and Mamiya was the one that gave Sawa the photo at the cafe. Kawana thinks RK had Sawa hostage, which is why she called him to her apartment the night she was murdered. But Kawana still doesn't know why RK wants him. 2 conversations and this whole story blows wide open. I really hope you've been paying attention because this web of collusion is seriously fucked. And if you think it won't get crazier or more confusing, keep watching, my friend. Anyway, Kawana does the most Yagami shit ever and jumps out a multi-story window, followed by Yagami, who still doesn't understand the concept of stairs or doors. He chases Kawana into a trap where the math students didn't learn their lesson the first time, so Yagami has to reteach. But this gives Kawana the opportunity to get away. Afterwards, the whole gang's back at Higashi's place to get Mamiya's truth about the Ihara groping incident. Kawana used a 3D printer to create a mask that looked like Ihara's face and played stand-in while Ihara was murdering Mikoshiba. Kawana was the one that uploaded the murder footage on the internet. Him and Ihara are basically trying to make the law look stupid, which they've done a pretty good job of achieving so far. The 2 of them switch places in the camera's blind spot, and the trace evidence on Ihara's hand was pre-planted. None of this matters though if they can't get Ihara back into court for an appeal, which he clearly doesn't want to do. But Yagami managed to trick Ihara into agreeing based on the idea he gets to humiliate the court again. And just when you think it couldn't get any crazier, during a later conversation, Yagami's crew turns on the TV and Kawana is now the prime suspect of Sawa's murder. Soma killed her though. How the hell is Kawana the prime suspect when RK and Yagami were also there? Yagami meets with Watanabe like, what the fuck, guy? And Watanabe says someone on the inside is trying to cover it up. Someone tampered with the camera footage to make Kawana the only suspect, and when they finally find him, he's supposed to die in an accident. Yagami gets pissed when Watanabe says they're closing the books on the case, so he beats the shit out of a detective. Man really gets away with whatever he wants. But as expected, that beating gets Watanabe to cooperate with Yagami and learns that public security is likely behind the collusion. For those of you that don't know, public security is a governmental spy ring like the United States' CIA. Public security is basically using RK to keep tabs on underground crime since the Tojo clan is no more. It'd be impossible to monitor everything if there wasn't a central organization. What's even more insane is that Tokyo PD doesn't even have a file on Soma. This guy is a ghost. No way. Does this mean Soma isn't real or it's another cover-up? Is public security covering up for Soma? Do you know what that means? If you don't, you'll learn soon. But we don't have time to explain now. We have to find Kawana before public security does. Yagami finds out Kawana is with the Yokohama Liomang. Tesso's his brother now, so he strolls on in to see Kawana. Kawana explains that Reiko Kusamoto was an accessory to murder. She killed Kawai herself. Kawana is convinced Kusamoto didn't sick public security on him. He believes that public security plans to catch Kawana and use him as leverage to manipulate Kusamoto. Fucking dirty ass politicians at it again. Remember when this was a cyberbullying case? Yeah, me too. This conversation gets heated when Yagami starts going off about Sawa's wrongful death and how Kawana is on some bullshit because his sense of justice is all fucked up. Naturally, this means they have to fight again, so they do. Eventually, they tire out and Tessa decides to treat everyone to the boss's cooking. Hey, it's our guy Zhao. If you don't know who this is, check out my explaining video for Yakuza Like a Dragon. The guy cooks like he dresses. Smooth as fuck. They talk some more, and after a mutual ass-kicking, a good meal, and mediation by Tessa of all people, Yagami and Kawana decide to team up against public security. Now we're fighting the government. Let's go. Meanwhile, Kusumoto is visiting her comatose son when there's a knock at the door. This sketchy-looking weasel is named Bando. Oh, and guess what? He's with public security. He approaches Kusumoto regarding the disappearance of Kawai. He knows, doesn't he? But we'll have to find out later because of the Fade to Black cliffhanger. A few days later, Tsukumo finds out what hospital Mitsuru is at, and Yagami devises a plan to speak with Kusumoto undisturbed. Real quick though, it's a damn good thing this lady is the Vice Minister of Health, because otherwise, there is no fucking way they'd be able to pay for that hospital bill. The kid's been in a coma for 13 years. That has to be a ton of money. Anyway, Yagami talks to Kusumoto and finds out public security wants control of the pension fund under the Ministry of Health's jurisdiction, which is worth 160 trillion yen. Not million, not billion, trillion. Holy fuck. They want to take bigger risks and gamble that money in order to rebuild Japan's economy faster, but gambles don't always pay off, which is why Kusumoto is being conservative with it. All this conspiracy between Kusumoto and Kawai could be used by public security to force her to agree to their collusion, which, as we should all know by now, is bad. Later, Hoshino learns that RK owns a number of cabaret clubs, and if one of the girls makes a lot of money, then Akutsu gives her a bonus in person. Guess what that means? We get to play dress up with Saori again. Because Saori's a natural, she pulls up and earns a bonus on her first night. Shout out to Saori, let's go. If the whole lawyer thing doesn't work out, she has options. Or maybe not, because the whole thing was actually a setup. Or maybe not, because Yagami Higashi and no way, Kaito's back? Roll up, ready to beat the information they need out of Akutsu. Too bad Akutsu doesn't have any info, but Kaito's big brain has an epiphany mid-conversation. What if Soma is public security? Like undercover public security. It's crazy, but it makes so much sense. Remember, no public record of Soma exists. He conveniently dipped out of the Yakuza just before they dissolved. He's the one that founded and started building RK. Don't forget, public security needs a central hub to monitor all of the ex-Yakuza. Are they doing that through Soma and his creation of RK? Just then, bam! Akutsu's dead. That dude got lit up by cops. That shit screams public security hit job. Yagami's now on the hunt for Soma. He talks to a couple people, beats the shit out of even more people, and then we get a cutscene with Kusumoto? Huh? But this is a big deal because Kusumoto tells Bando she's going to stop the collusion and turn herself into the police. She basically said, fuck you and public security, manipulate these nuts. And just when Bando's about to leave with his tail between his legs, Mitsuru is awake? Oh my god, 13 years in a coma and he picks today? The day his mom decides to finally end it all and turn herself in? Holy shit. Back to Yagami. He finds out Soma is looking for Kawana in Ijincho, so he gets back on a train or a plane or whatever he's had to get on 50 times during the course of this game because we are now searching for Kawana. Again. I swear, this guy's the fucking Japanese Roswell though. This time, he's on a boat. Cue the Lonely Island and T-Pain music. Yagami's trying to expose everything, even public security, but Kawana refuses to out Kusumoto or stop his murder spree because of his twisted sense of justice. He claims he's going underground and asks Yagami to get Mihara a locket. Just when Yagami starts monologuing and giving himself a morality boner, oh shit, Soma rolls up and slices the fuck out of Homeboy's neck. Seriously though, how do you not hear him pull up? The dude's wearing loud-ass dress shoes walking on metal. Then all kinds of RK flood in. How though? Yagami made sure he didn't have a tail. That bitch, Kusumoto, sold out Kawana. Now that her son's awake after 13 years, she can't just up and turn herself in anymore. So now she's working with public security. The two of them body a literal boat full of RK, but Soma and his cloth fetish keep sending more after them. Like, really, dude? Your dust allergy is so bad, you're sniffling in open air out on the water. Sus. With no hope in sight, Kawana takes off. Yagami rushes after him and boom! The boat explodes. Just like that, Kawana gets away. RK leaves without confirming the status of Kawana or Yagami, and Yagami just gets up and walks away even though he ate an explosion point blank. After a handful of conversations that aren't significant enough for this recap, Tsukumo finds out the locket is a decoy. Decoy for what? The locket had an SD card holding Ihara's murder footage. No big deal, right? Wrong. This SD card is special where the footage on it cannot be tampered with, making this the original copy. This is huge. Yagami finally has an unaltered, irrefutable evidence of Mikoshiba's murder. 1 month later, because apparently after everything we just went through, nothing significant happened over a course of a whole month. Yagami's looking smooth in his suit. He's getting ready for Ihara's appeal. During the case, Yagami reviews everything we've learned so far. How the groping was a full-on conspiracy, how Ihara is not only a liar under oath, but also a murderer. Ihara does a good job resisting at first, but Yagami presses him just enough and gets Ihara to confess to everything. That's right. Ihara admitted to killing Mikoshiba in court. He admits to the fake alibi, everything. Prosecution's dumbass is all like, where's the proof? Are you fucking serious? As a matter of fact, Ihara explains he hid the murder weapon in his son's altar. How's that for proof? Prosecution's all like, I guess we can look into it. Stupid. For the time being, the case will be suspended until the weapon is recovered and the judge can reassess everything. Yagami, you fucking black magic law magician. You did it again. But we're not done yet. Kusumoto and Bando just showed up. Kusumoto calls Kawana so he can speak with her and Yagami. A desperate man, Kawana allows the call to be traced, so public security is on their way with Yagami close behind. And just like in the last game, you know shit's about to get real because it starts raining. And here we go, 4 against an entire army with bats and knives and all kinds of weapons, but we all know that doesn't mean jack. Main characters can't lose. After whipping all kinds of ass, Yagami gets a call from Kawana. Turns out this is actually all a trap for Soma. Kawana plans to out Soma and public security in order to protect Kusumoto. Dude, she betrayed the fuck out you and you still have her back? I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know. After whooping even more ass and playing SSX Tricky on a forklift, they finally make it to the deepest part of the warehouse, where Soma has already found Kawai's body. Just then, bam! Big Box tries to flatten Soma Looney Tunes style and Soma starts shooting. Yagami's crew pulls up and Soma's still shooting. Soma even shoots his own man trying to hit Kaito. Idiot. Sugiura kicks the gun away. Kaito gets the funniest KO of the entire game and squad gets ready to mess up what's left of RK, including Soma. Yagami puts Soma to sleep. It's finally over. And not quite. Kawana planted a bomb on Kawai's body and plans on destroying it to protect Kusumoto. Dude. And Higashi's speaking straight facts when he says,
oh, what the fuck? I can't keep track of how many times this guy has changed sides.
None of us can, Higashi. None of us can. Yagami sends the homies away. This is his fight. And for the 3rd time, the two of them proceed to beat the shit out of each other. But this time, Yagami roundhouses the fool off a multi-story scaffold. How is he still alive? Doesn't matter. He needs to be alive so Yagami can give the big hero speech we've all come to expect in these games. You all know the formula. Ass kicking plus provocative speech equals bad guy's change of heart. Speaking of, Kusumoto randomly decides to show up and tells Kawana she can't bear it anymore. She's going to turn herself in. Over the past 2 games, the Ministry of Health really can't catch a break. First though, she has a touching moment with her son saying she's going to be gone for a while. Doesn't tell him why, but he says he'll be waiting. She committed murder, my guy. You're going to be waiting for a long time. Now it's finally over. Soma's going to jail for Sawa's murder. Bando is going to jail for assisting Soma, including covering up the Sawa murder footage. Ihara has officially been charged with Mikoshiba's murder, and Kusumoto charged with Kawai's murder. Yagami and the homies get to eat sushi. The asshole bullies are now good guys, and Kawana is still missing. But an anonymous report gave police the whereabouts of 5 murder victims linked to bullying. While Yagami's on another case not relevant to this DLC, Kaito is trying to get his client's money back from the Bato Detective Agency, a shady ex-Yakuza operation that makes most of their money from extorting their own clients. Of course, in the classic RGG style, Kaito solves this problem by kicking everyone's ass and threatening their leader, Igarashi. The next day, Kaito finally loses that stupid Hawaiian shirt that's more public indecency than clothes and puts on a suit. He's trying to impress a client who's willing to pay up to 32 million yen to find 1 person. Holy shit, that is a lot of money. His rich ass is named Sadamoto, and he's looking for his lost wife. Funny story though, she's supposed to be dead. 2 years ago, she took her own life. She left a suicide note. The body was found in a riverbed, decomposed beyond recognition. However, there was a photo of her and her son and a DNA match. But recently, her friend swears she saw her, and when she called out her name, the person froze, then ran away. Sus. But wait, there's more. Don't forget, this is an RGG game, so of course there's some more random bullshit that's going to make this even more complicated. Sadamoto's wife is also Kaito's long-lost lover, Mikiko. Back when Kaito was in the Yakuza and a 90s J-pop cover band according to that haircut, Mikiko couldn't stand to worry about him anymore and gave him an ultimatum as he left for a raid. When Kaito came back, she was gone. Even though Kaito could learn the truth about the girl he once planned to marry, even though he could make more money than his dumbass could probably count, he turns the job down. I'm sorry, what? Higashi later calls Kaito and says the kid's looking for him and causing problems at the arcade. Kaito heads over and turns out the kid who looks like the spawn of Ronald McDonald is actually the spawn of Mikiko. His name is Jun and he's looking for his mom. Jun knows Kaito because he read all about him in Mikiko's diary. Like with Sadamoto, Kaito refuses to help, so Jun pulls the sun card. Wait, hold up. Well, at least according to Mikiko's diary, Jun believes that he is Kaito's son. I mean, he's got the resting bitch face and the scowl down perfect, so maybe? Then there's a full flashback to Kaito and Mikiko's history. 16 years ago, Mikiko's sister Maho owned money to Kaito's family. They take her to work as a hostess until Mikiko rolls up and starts whooping Yakuza ass. Mikiko and Kaito strike a deal where she'll work at the club instead of Maho, and all the extortion and ass kicking eventually leads them to falling in love. Kaito takes Jun back to his office and the kid convinces him to start looking for Mikiko. I'm just now realizing that this entire DLC is one giant fetch quest for Jun's mom. God damn it. They start checking out all of Mikiko's old hangouts, and eventually Kaito finds out Mikiko's sister and foster parents died when their house was set on fire. After a bunch of filler like saving Kat, saving Jun's dumbass, and learning about Jun's daddy issues with Sadamoto, Kaito gets a lead about a doctor in Chiba that might know something. Dr. Shirakawa says he examined a woman who committed suicide, found the photo of her in the pocket, and confirmed the DNA match. Mikiko is dead. Well, guess that's it. Game over. If you found this video helpful or at all entertaining, but wait 1 second. Kaito realizes an inconsistency with Shirakawa's story and presses him. Why you lying, guy? And why the hell do you have a picture of Mikiko in your house? Why the fuck is this photo dated after Mikiko's supposed death? Truth is, she's alive. Shirakawa found her in the riverbed 2 years ago and treated her, but she suffered from a severe form of amnesia. All she could remember was her name. Soon after, Shirakawa was approached by a gang asking about Mikiko. He figured they probably pushed her from the waterfall, and in an effort to protect her, Shirakawa used his position as the police medical examiner to fake her death. 10 days ago, Mikiko's memories must have returned because she rushes out of the house to finish some business. Now a completely different person. So now, a woman who's officially considered dead is on the loose, consumed by hate and hell-bent on revenge. This probably won't end well. Hold up. Why not reach out to the family at least? Well, just like the rest of us lonely idiot men, Shirakawa fell in love with her. The power of the pussy is real. So real, in fact, dude just tried to justify semi-kidnapping. Kaito decides to leave, but can't because of a gang of Twitch streamers roll up on him. Their awkward as fuck blue-haired spokesman Nishio says they're a gang called the Crimson Lotus. They're looking for Mikiko, who is accused of killing their founding members. Is this the unfinished business that she left Shirakawa for? Dude thinks he's important because he has a cult of 8-year-olds watching his streams, so he thinks he can just walk into Shirakawa's house just as he pleases. Kaito takes issue with Nishio's entitled ass and basically tells him to get the fuck off his lawn. Of course, this turns into a full-on brawl, and once Kaito's done beating the shit out of them, and they're done complaining about lag and aimbot, a drunk hobo rolls up. Hobo's name is Kenmochi. He's the frontman for Crimson Lotus and also the drunk juggernaut. After ripping a fucking lamppost out of the ground, Kaito still beats his ass. Dude starts drinking even more because he's the drunk juggernaut, bitch, but ends up throwing up and has to get his ass carried away, hopefully to an AA meeting. Kaito and crew get back to Kamurocho and there's a building on fire and a woman with a gun. Holy shit, is that Mikiko? Kaito fights his way to the top of a burning building because, you know, that's a good idea, and finds a dead body and a pissed off Mikiko demanding the locations of Crimson Lotus members. Mikiko says the Crimson Lotus burned her whole family alive. Oh shit. Before Kaito can get any more information, backup comes. They shoot Kaito, and with nowhere else to go, he jumps off a 5-story building. I know Kaito took the full force of that drop, but Mikiko should not be able to just walk away. I swear, Japanese people are immune to fall damage. She says she can't afford to get caught, not until she kills them all. And then she dips. Also, why the hell do the cops act like they didn't just see her? They literally just watched her get up, grab her gun, and go into the side alley. Kamurocho's finest idiots at it again. Kaito wakes up in the hospital and is somehow miraculously cured? I'll say it again. He got shot and jumped off a 5-story building. Man must have hit the Pokemon Center like... Shirakawa explains the Crimson Lotus that were on the roof are dead and the 2 more victims in a string of Kamurocho murders. Kaito heads off to investigate the crime scene when he's stopped by Sadamoto. Good news is that Sadamoto is Jun's actual father, so after getting shot, Kaito at least dodged that bullet. Kaito sneaks into the crime scene. He finds a burned hard drive and a photo. The photo contains Kenmochi, the drunk juggernaut for those of you not keeping up, and the 4 recent murder victims. Are they all Crimson Lotus? Kaito sends the hard drive to Tsukumo to see what he can find and then stakes out Kenmochi's office in the most obvious way possible. Really? Who stands like that? They tail Kenmochi until they learn it was a trap for Mikiko, who is also tailing him. Kaito rushes in and finds the Bakuto detective jacked up. Wait, why is he with Mikiko, and why did Mikiko hire their agency? Kaito fights his way all the way to some crazy love room, sees Mikiko tied up on the bed and drunk Kenmochi in his underwear. The whole thing is sus, so Kaito picks up a solid, heavy-ass marble table and yeets the whole thing at Kenmochi's face, who catches it, no problem, and then yeets it back. I'm telling you, he's the drunk juggernaut. Kenmochi starts getting a hard-on about fighting Kaito, to which Kaito obliges after getting his half-naked ass destroyed. That sounded weird. Whatever, just go with it. Kenmochi takes another drink and starts crying, saying he never meant to kill anyone. He feels immense guilt for killing Mikiko's family. He was told no one was home and is consistently tormented by the ghosts of his actions. His drinking problem is a means to numb the pain. Kaito lays Kenmochi out, saves Mikiko, and then dips. The Bato agency takes them both to their office, and Kaito learns she hired them to protect June until she finished her revenge. The Bato agency is the only one willing to take shady jobs without asking too many questions. Remember, they're ex-Yakuza. Funny story is, she never technically started her revenge though. Turns out, someone else has been killing the Crimson Lotus, always one step ahead of Mikiko. As much as she wants to kill them all, she hasn't really gotten a chance yet. Mikiko explained she found out Kenmochi was part of the Crimson Lotus after he killed her family, and they also framed her suicide by knocking her out and tossing her over the waterfall. Mikiko regained her memory when she saw her husband Sadamoto on TV. Everything came flooding back, and that's why she left Shirakawa. Exhausted from getting kidnapped, Mikiko takes a rest. Kaito gets a call from Tsukumo, who managed to pull information off the hard drive. The dead Crimson Lotus member was receiving suspicious money transactions from a dummy corporation. Conveniently, Mikiko goes missing and Kaito has to beat the shit out of the Bato guys to figure out where she's going. They take him to Ijinsho, where Crimson Lotus founders are having a reunion. On the way, Kaito and Igarashi have a chat and this whole story is about to blow up. Mikiko is on the way to finish off the Crimson Lotus, including one additional target, the person who's been killing them before she's getting a chance to. This is the same person who wants that hard drive destroyed, which is why he set that place on fire. This is the same person who wants to hide that they were hiring Crimson Lotus members through the dummy corporation. The same person that Mikiko doesn't want to know she's alive, despite being the first person that she probably should have contacted when she got her memory back. Haven't figured it out yet? What about her husband, Sadamoto? Boom! This whole thing just blew wide open. Have no idea what's going on? Stay tuned. Sadamoto is killing off the Crimson Lotus to hide his ties to them. Ties that include Sadamoto's involvement in the arson that killed Mikiko's family. What the fuck? Mikiko learned the truth 2 years ago, and that's why Sadamoto and the Crimson Lotus tried to kill her, his own fucking wife. What? A long time ago, Sadamoto was an outside advisor to the founding members of Crimson Lotus when they were all in college together. Sadamoto expanded the Crimson Lotus business into morally gray areas while earning them additional money and power. He was also building his own business and used the Crimson Lotus to do his dirty work. Eventually, his company started to suffer and Sadamoto set his sights on Mikiko's rich-ass foster parents. This fucking excuse for a human being formed a relationship with Mikiko, convinced her foster parents he was a good dude, married her, had a child with her, and then had Mikiko's family killed in order to get the inheritance to save and grow his company. This might possibly be the worst piece of shit RGG has ever developed. Kaito gets to the reunion, sneaks in, beat the shit out of Nishio, and finds Mikiko and Sadamoto on the roof. Mikiko has a gun to Sadamoto, and instead of putting a bullet in the head of the guy that fake loved her, married her, had a kid with her, killed her entire family, and stole her inheritance, she lets him talk until Kenmochi shows up with June. Knife to June's neck, Sadamoto says shoot Kaito and he will release June. Kaito tries to convince Kenmochi that Sadamoto is the real killer. He's killing Crimson Lotus and cutting ties with his shady past as he rises up in the legit business world. Sadamoto also knew Mikiko's family was home when he had Kenmochi burn it down. Soon after, Kenmochi starts coughing blood. The entire party starts coughing blood and dying. Scene looks like it's straight out of Resident Evil. Sadamoto's sadistic, unhinged self poisoned the reunion's drinks, ensuring that all of the Crimson Lotus at the event would die. He then planned to pin the entire thing on Mikiko and feed the media the story of her crusade for revenge. But all isn't completely lost, because if she kills Kaito, Sadamoto will give her and June a ton of money so they can flee the country. Mikiko stays getting played, and because she never learns, ends up pointing the gun at Kaito. However, Kaito knows she won't do shit, takes the gun, and is ready to shoot Sadamoto himself when, for the first time in this entire DLC, June decides to be useful and actually ends up freeing himself. Kaito's dumbass hesitates and gets the gun knocked from his hand. Does no one in this entire game know how to shoot? This is kind of killing me right now. Now Kaito has to do what he does best and give Sadamoto these hands. He does, but the knives Sadamoto were using were laced and Kaito's all kinds of messed up. Don't worry, as we learned earlier, his plot armor is too strong. Finally, Mikiko grows a pair and is about to kill Sadamoto, until Kaito and June talk her out of it. Oh my god, will someone please end him? Wait, can Mochi still alive? By sheer force of will, and still tormented by the ghosts of his past, Kenmochi manages to stave off the poison just long enough to snap Sadamoto's neck with his bare hands. Damn. Like I said earlier, Kaito's not looking so good and he ends up passing out. However, again, the plot armor is so strong that he ends up waking up in the hospital a couple days later. Over the last week, Kaito got shot, fell from a 5-story building, took countless punches in random fistfights, and got sliced up by poisoned knives that very likely fucked him up internally. But it's all good because he just jumps out of bed, no problem. Kaito has a heart-to-heart with June, including the most awkward man hug I've ever seen. I know it's not, but it looks extra sus. They both go check on Mikiko, who's been staying with Shirakawa. Shirakawa, who's still in love with Mikiko, proposes right then and there, until Kaito's all like, hold up, she's coming home with me. Shirakawa says, you're poor, and you live in a dirty-ass apartment. You probably have to eat cereal with water. Kaito's all like, fuck you, you semi-kidnapped her when she didn't even know who she was. Shirakawa then goes, then I will smite you in Mortal Kombat and defend her honor. And then Kaito says, cash these hands, bitch. And because no RGG game would be complete without two dudes ripping their shirts off in the coolest, most unrealistic way possible, they do. Apparently Shirakawa's fucking ripped. I mean, why wouldn't he be? It's an RGG game, and if you plan on fighting at all, then you might as well be a contestant in Mr. Olympia, no matter how nerdy you look. They fight, Kaito uses the power of love to beat the shit out of the lonely doctor man, and the two long-lost lovers are finally reunited.